Go beyond market headlines to understand the reasons for the day's movers and shakers. And get your portfolio ready for tomorrow. Beaming live from the CNBC-TV18 Motilal Oswal studio.
Taiwanese index is down almost 0.08%.
We have developed magnets using heavy rare earth free magnets.
India's YTD performance is the largest, the weakest, whatever you want to call it, however you want to describe, in 30 years. Nifty is 25,130. It's absolutely flattish.
I think to expect FIs or FPIs to come back anytime soon would be a bit of a struggle.
We are under leveraged in the mass economy sort of categories.
Things are very, very quiet. It almost feels like people are sitting at home, taking a U-turn and getting back.
Not just central Mumbai, there were waterlogging in multiple parts of the city.
0.52 versus a negative 0.58, a mild inch up higher. They have consolidation for the frontline indices, but can't say the same of the broader markets. In fact, your portfolios would be looking a lot better.
Okay, well, that is the day so far. It's been quiet because for the last 7 days now, 8 days actually, the market's been up and up. So today, a bit of a break this Monday. It's rainy, it's sort of rained out in that sense, and here in the market as well. Not a very exciting day in that sense. 42 points lower, 25,070. It's been that way for the last several hours now. This is Closing Bell. We're coming to you live from the CNBC-TV18 Motilal Oswal studios. I'm Prashant, Surabhi and Reema with me, guys. Hi, good afternoon.
Hi.
Quiet.
Very quiet, but mid-caps are pretty okay, up about 0.5%. Pull up that intraday chart. It's come off in the last 1 hour, but again, it's trying to climb back up. Let's see. 1 hour to go.
That's true. Today, actually, global markets are also a little directionless. There's no major move building on either side. If you're looking at Asian screens, it's some up and some down. Ditto for Europe. So you don't have very, very clear sort of calls. By the way, watch out for NVIDIA and what that does in U.S. trading action tonight, because there were some, reports out of China. The Chinese market regulator has ruled that NVIDIA has violated China's monopoly or antitrust laws, basically. So the NVIDIA shares are down about 2% in the after-hours trade. So we'll see. But the short point is you don't have too many big global headlines at this point in time. And on the back of that, our market, little change. Some interesting stocks on the move, by the way. Some, financials, Jio Finance, Bajaj Finance, SBI, ICICI Bank. Largely, it's financials. Rest of it is either flat or mildly negative. Prashant?
Oh, absolutely. And, 1,700 up, 1,300 down. That's the market breadth out there. And, maybe a railway pack is higher, and we'll talk more about that. And you've got individual shooting stars, absolutely no doubt. I mean, Parag Milk, Sarda Energy, Aegis Logistics is up 8%. SBI Card is up 5%, I just noticed. So you got these individual, sharpshooters. But beyond that, it's a little quieter. Having said that, the small cap index is up 0.8. The mid cap index is up about 0.5% as well. Let me just quickly run you through what's coming up here over the next 60 minutes, and then we'll take it forward. So, of course, as we described, holding on to levels, and on your screen now, IT, of course, is off. Autos have had a nice run there, taking a bit of a break. PSU banks are another story. They're extending some of the gains. So market discussion, of course. Railways as a pack is doing well. Lots of smaller names, but what's happening there? So that coming up. And of course, Vodafone Idea, Ashmit reports from Delhi in terms of what's happening, what the Supreme Court is going to hear, I think on the 19th of September, so some context background to it. Northern Arc is a brokerage call that we want to highlight, not one but two. So Northern Arc is up about 8-9%, and that coming up in just a bit as well. How should you position yourself in the last hour? That's the question. Mitesh is with us with the answer to that one. Mitesh, take it away. Afternoon.
Afternoon, Prashant. So, earlier in the day, I was talking about any kind of a pullback, if it is roughly around 80 to 90 points, I think that should be a good buying opportunity. So, roughly the transpired broadly 25,000 zones. That has not happened. We've got a low of around 25,048, but the directional bias in the structure remains positive. I think if you get another 30-40 points lower, maybe you can take a long position, then take a 70-point stop loss from there. And I believe that on the upside, we might see the Nifty head towards 25 to 63.20 zone. Having said that, on the stock side, I have two long calls. One is DLF, which is reversing after a good correction in the base building. So buy here with a stop at about 762. Look for a target of around 800. And the other one which I like, that's a buy on Container Corporation. Again, very similar setup to DLF. The stock corrected and last 2 weeks it's been sideways. Now trying to break out of that range. So buy here with the stop below 549.5 for targets of 570.
Mitesh, one more question on PSU banks. Big spike seen. Pull up a Union Bank or a Bank of India, a PNB. In the frontline pack, you've got State Bank of India. These stocks spiking just as we speak now in the last 5-10 minutes. Any trade on PSU banks?
We had a buy on Bank of India, I think, on Wednesday, and then the stock was sideways. It went up to about 121, came back to 117. But the structure is extremely good over here. So once it crosses 121, I am looking at a target of 126 to begin with, but then 132 is the more logical target. So the view is very positive. The other stock which I like a lot is Canara Bank. A lot of positive crossovers on the hourly, 2-hourly indicators and charts and moving averages. Very likely that Canara Bank will head towards 117, 118 to begin with, and then maybe even higher levels. And you can add Bank of Baroda. It's slightly underperforming, but I think it can bounce back to its earlier highs of around 248 to about 250. State Bank of India also looks good to me, but again, I need to see the stock get past 834, 835. It peaked around those levels first on 16th, 17th of July, and then back again on 20th of August. So once it clears these hurdles, the stock should do well. But yeah, I think structure-wise, all the PSU banks look very interesting.
Making some moves now. The other one is Anantraj. Stock is up 13%. It's moving up on very large volumes. Volumes today are, I think, close to about 2.7 crore shares traded today versus a 10-day average of less than 10 lakh. So its up move is coming on very large volumes and trading action. Sonal now joins in with what she's learned on the stock and what explains this up move. Sonal?
Thank you so much for that. Now remember, Anantraj is a real estate company which is expanding big into data centers as well. And there is an update which has come by. It's a business standard report which CNBC-TV18 has not independently verified, but it talks about proposal that the government is going to give for data center expansion. It says that there are potential incentives which will be allowed for data centers expansion. Government has proposed a tax exemption of up to 20 years for data center developers, provided they go ahead and meet certain criteria, that is in terms of capacity addition, in terms of power usage effectiveness and employment generation targets as well. And on the back of a possibility of these coming by, Anantraj is higher because remember, in the June quarter itself, it had operationalized a second data center facility at Panchkula. It had a capacity of 7 megawatt in terms of IT load, and the company also has target of operationalizing 307 megawatt data centers in terms of capacity by 2031. So if all these incentives do come by, it could have a positive impact on the PNL, and that's why that uptick on the stock. But do remember, it's just a proposal. There is no finality on these particular clauses as of now.
Thank you very much for that. Shankar Sharma has tweeted about the data centers, and he says the enthusiasm around data centers is largely a hope trade. Broadly, it resembles the telecom tower business, in which the tower company invests massively in capex. So he's, likening it to the tower business, very high on capex. And once you've got the capex on the ground, you are at the mercy of the customers who can competitively bid and try and get very low rates. So that's the opposing view coming in. Dipan Mehta, director at Elixir Equities, is now joining in. Dipan, do you want to come in on the excitement surrounding data centers? Anantraj is a potential play.
Yeah, Rima, good afternoon and thank you for having me on your show. The problem with that, we don't have enough data center stocks to buy. Like in US, you can buy Amazon Web Services. Microsoft also has got their own services, and as does Oracle. But in India, you just have Anantraj. That is a small portion of the overall business. And then there's another company called E2E Network, where L&T has taken a stake, I believe, in that company. So, when investors want to play this narrow investment theme of data center, they really get stuck because there is really no effective stock. Of course, a lot of data centers are coming up. The telecom companies are doing it. Reliance is doing it, Adani is doing it, but that's all part of a larger conglomerate. So from that point of view, I think the excitement is justified. And data centers look are the future. And if you can find a solid investment stock which is a good play on this theme, I would certainly look at it.
There's also Lodha. Lodha announced a big tie-up with the Maharashtra government on this last week. So I don't know. I mean, we don't know in terms of, and we were discussing this with the Prestige Estates last week as well, Deepan. Hi, afternoon, with the Mr. Irfan Razak, because they have some plans on this side as well. But from a developer's point of view, now with the added incentive, do you think it'll make more sense? Will it be more lucrative? So, I mean, how do you look at this as a more pure and direct play, if at all? Because these developers are doing a mix of everything, right?
See, I don't know, how this business really is run, whether a real estate company can be a successful data center provider. I think Anant Raj has shown it, but it has to be demonstrated by others as well. So it's a bit of a new industry also. One is not able to understand what are the dynamics and what are the factors which lead to growth and, how it actually plays out. Is there a technological barrier? Is there a customer centricity? So it's a bit difficult to comment. And just because a company has announced that it is going into data centers, I don't think that merits, a fresh investment. Look at it. They have to make a success out of it, which is easier said than done.
Okay. All right. So that's one piece of news that we're looking at in the market today. Let's move to the other one. The other piece, which is really buzzing with a lot of action, is the railway space. A lot of railway stocks are up and about. RVNL, you have, in fact, let me just pull up some of the movers of this hour. Many of them are moving because they've announced order wins as well. That's RailTel, which is up, RVNL, Jupiter Wagons, all of them are up and about. Even the others like Ircon, for instance, almost 5-6% higher. Vinny is joining in to tell us what the buzz is all about. Vinny, fill us in.
Hi, afternoon. So yes, we're seeing all these stocks that are buzzing in trade today, and overall the main reason is now we're again seeing a pickup in terms of order wins, especially in the last week to now. Now let's start with RailTel. That was the most recent one in terms of order wins that came in over the weekend. They received a letter of acceptance of around 200 odd crores, and this was from the state project director of VR Education. Even last week they had a couple of order wins. One was around a 713 crore order that was from Bihar Education Project Council again. Another one was on 9th of September, which came in from IRCTC, and that was of around 19 crores. RVNL last week, again, order wins that came in for RVNL as well, around 170 crore of order win that came in for the company. Jupiter Wagons, around 113 crore order win that came in for Jupiter Wagons. This was from the Ministry of Railway that they saw coming in last week. Now, what are the triggers going to be going forward, right? We had all these execution issues that came in for most of these railway companies in FY25, and Q1 FY26 also was a bit of a concern. But going forward, now, Ashwini Vaishnav in a recent comment said that, railway projects worth around 77,000 crores have been implemented or are going to be implemented in the northeast region of India. So that is a positive there. There'll be a lot of work that will be going on in the northeast region. Even Prime Minister Narendra Modi recently inaugurated one of the railway lines in Mizoram, as well as he said that there are going to be projects worth around 9,000 crore in Manipur as well. So a lot of deals and projects that one could expect from the northeast side. And other than that, the wheel set issue, which was a major reason because of the lag, in terms of the lag that we saw in numbers, was because of the wheel set issue, and that has now started improving. The availability is coming back. So execution for all these companies will pick up. They already have a very strong order book, most of these railway companies.
Vinny, thanks very much for that. Deepan, anything you like here in the space?
Yeah, RailTel looks interesting. And I also saw the order wins. They are quite impressive. And I think a lot of government, quasi-government, even municipal, state level are implementing, computing and offering a lot of services on the digital side. And RailTel being a PSU certainly benefits from that PSU tag. There's comfort to get the orders as well. And a business of RailTel is such that already they have the infrastructure in place. And that certainly they can optimize it and increase the yields, and they're great at implementation as well. And of course, they have the advantage of being part of the railway. So a lot of the, the channels which they want to put through, the right of way that is available to them. So it's certainly a company which is on our radar. Not that expensive, also about 39 times trading 12 months, which is reasonable, and good scale-up opportunities. Recent track record also has been pretty decent. So I would look at that company, but it's not technically a play on railways. It is more of a play on more and more e-governance taking place at the state and center and the municipal level. Actual railway equipment companies are different, like say Jupiter Wagons or a Titagarh for that matter. And one more company comes to mind is this Kernex Microsystem. It's a very small cap company. Usual disclosure that it's high risk, high return type of position, and it is into this Kavach. And I think it's got an astounding order book position. I'm not sure the number, but it runs into 10, 12 years or so. So that's also on our radar, just as a measure of disclosure. But I'm just waiting for better numbers to come through and more information to come from the company.
Just getting back to the entire data center play, you said there are only two opportunities. One is Anant Raj and the other one is E2E networks. Have you done any analysis? Last year when L&T acquired the near 20% stake, they did it at a price of 3,600, which was much lower than the prevailing market price, which was 4,600 thereabout. The stock today is at about 3,000, 3,100. And this is after a 30% increase this month. I mean, what would be the fair value for a company like E2E Networks? If you thought that after L&T has come in as a strategic partner, it should do well, the stock has only, come down since then.
Maybe you should flash the P multiple. It is, I think, close to 100.
Yeah, it's 100 plus.
While you were speaking, I was just checking 100 times, So what can I say about valuation? See, this is the thing. There is kind of a madness for these data center, artificial intelligence stocks because of what is happening in US. And we poor investors can't buy NVIDIA, we can't buy Oracle, we can't buy Amazon Web Services or Google. So we try and find small stocks where there is a scope to ride this particular investment theme, by the way, which is extremely strong because government laws insist on Indian data to reside in India. So I'm sure the data center industry is going through a fantastic growth phase. It's just that there are not enough listed stocks that investors can play. Sooner or later, something will get listed. Existing companies also may just strip out and split their data center business so long as it becomes big and listed. They can look at it at that point of time. But right now, we just have a couple of companies, and the scarcity value is what is driving these stocks up.
You remember, Rima, we did that show on data centers, right? And I remember the CEO of L&T technology, L&T data center business. She said that the maximum value in a data center. Otherwise, what is a data center? I mean, it's like a
physical facility housing servers.
Yeah, it's like it's a concrete box with wires going in, essentially, right? Without the stuff inside. Yeah. So the stuff inside actually constitutes a large portion of the value of the data center, which is basically, mechanical wiring which goes in, cooling systems, etc., etc. So I know for a fact that in the unlisted space, there is a lot of action which is already, and I think we will see listing. These are specialized niche companies. And there are only 4 or 5 of these companies which are doing the back end.
Which is the data center management part of it?
No, supplying stuff for what goes in there, apart from the chips, apart from the GPUs,
electromechanical, I think it was that which was the value add.
Yeah. So, I mean, there is, I think, Blue Star, etc. The point is it won't move the needle for a company as large as Blue Star, etc. But there are more specialized kind of companies, which I think...
Which is the thing, which is why I asked that question to Dipan as well, that from a real estate point of view, you're just creating the real estate outer shell. Yeah. That's not the value.
I remember I put it like that to somebody who operates, they said, not very pleased.
Yeah.
So...
it's the hardware, right? I mean, ultimately, it's the software, those servers, the chips, and the wiring that's going into keeping them running. That's where the value creation is really happening. Yeah. Okay, all right. Dipan, any other ideas before we let you go?
So just my one little bit, 2 bit on this data center thing. Another very interesting company, just disclosure again. Another very interesting company called NetWeb Technologies. And we must present that company because it's one of the pioneers in manufacturing supercomputers in India. And, I can see all the parallel in India, and they have got some fabulous computers in place, and they've got some amazing awards as well. They are the favorite with a lot of the research being done at universities in India and fantastic track record. And when you're looking at this whole AI play and data center and computing power, it's like a mini NVIDIA for Indians, who cannot buy NVIDIA. So must have a look at this company, and if you can get the management to explain the business better, I think that will be all the more better.
And trading at what valuation, Dipan?
That's how I look at that.
By the way, it is like a smaller NVIDIA. The point is, NetWeb is partners with NVIDIA.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. I remember when Jensen Huang was here, it was NetWeb or E2E. I think it was NetWeb.
NetWeb, I think it was
India's
NetWeb, yeah.
CEO was on stage. There were a bunch of CEOs. They were like, because NVIDIA said these are our partners, and there was NetWeb up there on stage. So stock's done. I think it fell to 1,200-1,300 rupees in April, and from there it's come up to almost back to about 3,000 kind of levels here. So yeah, interesting name there, but and no real big serious institutional participation or anything, I think, yet. But this is it's an interesting one. I think we do get to speak to them, right? Post quarterly numbers.
Yeah, and they've been growing very well, 50-60%. And every quarter they've added to the disclosure saying how much AI is contributing to their overall revenue. I think at last count it was close to about 20-odd%. But that number has been steadily increasing for NetWeb. Fabulous. 6 months up, stock is up close to about 100%. Dipan, a quick word on Tata Tech and the acquisition that they've made, expands their presence in Germany, gets Volkswagen as a customer, and then ADAS capabilities.
That's right, I think, and the kind of interest which is coming back in Tata Elxsi leads me to believe that, after a kind of a pause, maybe some investments are coming back by the auto companies into the software space required for EVs and for autonomous driving vehicles. So that's great news, I think, if the sector does well. There's KPIT also, which has been kind of struggling with growth last couple of quarters or so. And I think it's an interesting acquisition by Tata Technologies. Certainly be watching that stock far more closely.
Okay, all right. We'll leave it there, Dipan. A good chat as always. Thanks very much for joining us. And, we'll talk to you soon again. I think we'll take a break, right? We'll come back with Vikas Khemani on the other side, and we continue talking markets with him in just a bit.
Welcome back. Well, before we bring in our next guest on the show, let's put the spotlight on a couple of buzzing stocks. And Vodafone Idea has definitely been one of them. The stock has moved from just being about 6 odd rupees to just around 8 rupees, actually over 8%. And because those sums are so tiny, or the numbers are so tiny, in an absolute sense, it will be like a 30% move on the stock in the last few weeks. Ashmit is joining in. What we do understand is that this case, the AGR case, has been listed for the 19th of September, which is a Friday. But Ashmit, we really need context here, because the AGR matter has been thrown out by the Supreme Court so many times, and there are, I think a review petition, a curative, so much has been filed. So now, on what grounds is VI approaching the courts, and what sort of relief are they hoping for?
Well, interesting use of language as far as Vodafone Idea is concerned in their petition. On the face of it, it appears to be a challenge for against additional AGR dues. At the outset, what Vodafone appears to be arguing is that, look, there's a figure, the original figure that was confirmed by the Supreme Court was about 58,000 crore rupees. Subsequently, we had seen the moratorium and then the relief that had been provided by the government. But the broad thrust of Vodafone Idea's argument is that that's the figure that was agreed upon. What they are challenging, at least on the face of it, is an additional demand of about 5,900 crore rupees that has now been slapped on them, again, by the DOT. Now, they're questioning this additional demand, but the use of language is interesting. They go on to say that the DOT is adding to the original demand that was confirmed by the Supreme Court, that it's not in keeping with the Supreme Court verdict, but then also goes on to say that this additional demand comes despite the fact that there's been no reassessment of even the original AGR dues. They go on to say that with the original AGR dues itself, there were issues of arithmetic errors, computational errors, double counting of certain entries. And then there's a reference made by Vodafone Idea that even in the original one, there was no change made to these arithmetic errors, to the double counting errors. And therefore, going on to seek quashing of this additional AGR, saying that this total AGR burden is too heavy for them, that it will result in the company going out of existence. And that's where things get even more interesting. While the prayer that they've made before the court, while on one hand they are seeking quashing of the additional demand, they are also seeking reassessment of all of the AGR dues up until the year 2016-17. So both these arguments likely to be made before the apex court. And just like as you had rightly pointed out, 2019 is when the original judgment had been passed. 2020, the modification petition was rejected. The review was rejected. Curative petition was rejected. A latest application that we saw a couple of months back, that was also rejected. So clearly, Vodafone Idea trying its luck once again, making its plea before the apex court. The website tells us on 19th of September, Friday, is when this case will be taken up for further hearing.
And Ashmit, has DOT said why have they imposed this additional demand of 5,950 crore on Vodafone Idea? Is it for the old demand till 2017, or is it
the DOT is not commenting. The little that we know falls. Well, the DOT is not commenting on this additional demand. What we do know, however, is that the rationale that Vodafone has talked about is that the DOT felt, in communication between the company, the telecom company, and the DOT felt that even in the original figure of 58,000 crore rupees, it came with a caveat. The caveat that the DOT had given back then is that this figure of 58,000 crore rupees, I beg your pardon, will be subject to any further audits that may take place, any further assessments that the DOT might do. And that is what has been cited, at least that's what Vodafone Idea says as a part of its petition. And that has been the grounds on which the DOT has slapped this additional demand. So Vodafone Idea coming back to the court once again, questioning that additional demand, and also, along with the additional demand, questioning raising the issue of a potential need for reassessment of the overall AGR dues up until 2016.
Oh, so though the scope of the main plea is just under 6,000 crores, VI is perhaps hoping that this will allow them to make a larger case about, the threat to the company to continue as a going concern, so on and so forth. I mean, this is stuff they've said in the past as well. Very interesting, Ashmit. We are all prepped up, and you have a Friday blockbuster coming up, if indeed it is on the 19th. Thank you so much for joining in with that context. It's really important. And like I said, it's led to a rally of about 30-odd% on the VI stock from under 6 rupees to now just over 8 rupees. But we're staying with telecom. Rima, you're looking at Indus Towers?
Because Bharti has been slowly acquiring stake in Indus Towers. Between 5th and 10th of September, Bharti Airtel, the promoter of Indus Towers, has bought about 80.7 lakh shares, With this, the promoter, that's Bharti Airtel's stake in Indus Towers, rises to 50.4%. And even a couple of days back, we had reported that from 25th August to 1st September, Bharti had bought nearly 70 lakh shares of Indus Towers. So in the open market, the promoter of Indus Towers, Bharti Airtel, has been buying slowly shares of Indus Towers. But that's just wanted to give you that update. But let's now go across to Hormuz. He's going to put the spotlight on the top movers.
Index may be in snooze mode, but specific stocks are not. And Godavari Power is one of them. Not only has it hit a record high in today's session, it's also the biggest single-day gain that the stock has seen since March. This 11% moves gained in 3 out of the last 4 sessions. The volumes in today's session are the highest since June of 2023. And we've had close to 4 crore shares that have traded on the stock today. The 20-day average is just 41 lakh shares, and has been a good performer this year so far, up 33%, and has had positive returns every year since the end of 2019. The other one that's done well today is Banco Products, and snapped a 4-day losing streak today, 16% higher now on the stock. It's the biggest single-day gain and the highest volumes that the stock has seen since May, and we have had close to 75 lakh shares that have been traded on the stock. And look at the 20-day average, just over 2 lakh. And the stock has done well this year, 46% year to date, the positive returns every year since 2020. A pocket that has done well today has been the railway stocks, and not only have they moved higher, anywhere between 5 to 8%, but look at the volumes here. Railtel, Ircon, RVNL have had anywhere between 2 crore to 2.5 crore shares that have traded, and the 20-day average is anywhere between 20 lakh to 55 lakh shares. So again, moves on very strong volumes. It will be interesting to see what kind of delivery data emerges on these names. And the last one is Hariom Pipes, and until 1 o'clock today, the volumes on the stock were below their 20-day average, and there has been a sharp spike in volumes after 1 o'clock today, and courtesy of that, close to 17 lakh shares have already changed hands compared to a 20-day average of 2.5 lakh shares. It's continuously been finding support at that 50-day moving average of 472. Today's low is 477. It has rebounded from those levels and has moved 9% higher. And courtesy of this, so far, mid of September, this is the 6th straight month of gains for Hariom Pipes.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Hormuz, and unusual movers, large volumes, and of course tomorrow we'll check up on some of this stuff with regards to delivery stats as well, whether it's stacking up. Okay, let me just now welcome in Vikas Khemani, who's with us, founder, Carnelian Asset Management and Advisors. Vikas, good afternoon. Coming to you a little late today. Thank you for joining us. Let's just talk about a few names, and we can let's do this upside down. Let's talk about a few ideas, names, what you've added, and then we'll get a broader view from you in terms of where you think markets per se are headed, Vikas. I see you have Aditya Birla Capital as one of your top holdings in the compounder strategy PMS, Vikas. It's done phenomenally well. I think, 60% this year? Was it a recent addition for you, Vikas?
And good to chat with you. I think this we bought at 100 rupees when about 2 years ago. I think when that's part of when the new management came. I think 2.5 years ago. When I think there was no institutional holding in that, we were the first institutional buyer in that, and our whole hypothesis was the company will be put on a growth path, and the historical concerns will go away and will get re-rated. So we have seen from 1-time book to 2.5-time book happening, and I think still it's undergoing a very good transformation journey. Vishakha has done a great job in terms of putting the growth engine, there. So that was our hypothesis. Thankfully, hypothesis has played out over last 1 year, 2 years, and also in last 6-8 months specifically. And that's what I think has worked for it.
Yeah, and the other one, of course, is a name we've talked about earlier. I mean, the number 1 and number 2 stocks in this strategy doing very, very well. Loris, and it's a name that we've debated, discussed. 50% this year, Vikas. So finally starting to fire.
Yes, I think again the way Prashant we look at is as long as the management quality is very good and the capability and competence of the company is very good. Of course, there was a rough patch last year where most investors sold stocks and stock fell from 700 rupees to almost 300 rupees. And of course, there was a rough patch in between. Numbers didn't come and markets were disappointed. But they were, in our opinion, that time cyclical, and not structure, and the capability of the company, how company has transformed from an API to CDMO company and continues to transform historically. And, so we saw that. And as the visibility of the numbers has come about, as the whole CDMO story is beginning to play out, I think markets has taken a note and stock has done well. So it is a part of a natural. So we think that's still long way to go. CDMO continues to remain a very large structural growth opportunity, and Laurus, and being one of the very few credible players in that space from a capability standpoint of view and customer standpoint. So that's the reason.
Right. So those are two done. One more coming your way, and this is, I think, it's an interesting one, right? Kalpataru Projects. It's a name we're all familiar with here in Mumbai in terms of their projects, etc. And stocks available around the price where it came to the market at, 395 or so. So I think opened at about 414, 415 when it listed a month, I think, 2 months back. What's the thesis here, Vikas?
Probably you're missing something. Kalpataru Projects is not the real estate company. This is the EPC company.
Oh, this is the EPC one. I beg your pardon.
Yeah. This is.
Okay. What I'm doing is I'm referring to the real estate stock and referring to Kalpataru Projects.
Yes.
Because I pulled up Kalpataru Projects, the listed entity, and okay. So you don't own that. Although I've heard, So okay. I connected 2 and 2. Okay. This is Kalpataru Projects. That's fine. I got that. What else? Anything else new you've picked up, Vikas?
Again, it's public knowledge. It's released in our sort of fact sheet last month. We've added a significant portion stock in Biocon. And I think, again, I know there's a lot of skepticism in the marketplace there right now. We think there's a good transformation happening. In this company, demand is picking up. Reasonably good growth happened. A lot of repair on the fundamentals has happened. So we find quite promising prospects there.
Biocon, yeah, that's, I think, in your Amritkal fund, one of the key holdings over there. Actually, if I look at this particular fund, Vikas, hi, good afternoon, Surabhi here. And we know this, I mean, your preference for manufacturing is very well documented, very well known. And that's the lion's share of the portfolio. As a contrast, consumption, pure consumption is only 2%. Now, in this fund, I think you also have a stock like Maruti, but probably, again, a play on manufacturing. With everything that's happening now, GST, income tax cuts, monsoon, this whole market narrative that consumption is finally set for a lift-off. I mean, are you convinced about it at all from a more medium-term structural sense? Are you looking to make any tweaks there? Your thoughts? Or do you think that this is going to be a passing trend at best in the market?
We were never negative on consumption. I think we were negative on consumer segments, valuations, and certain pockets which were overrated and hyped, likes of paints and consumer discretionary and all those things. I think you pay 50, 60 times or maybe more PE, but growth was kind of single digit or less than single, a very small growth out there, right? So according to us, Maruti is also a consumer play because it's a consumer discretion. There's no difference between a car and an air conditioner they are also a consumer discretionary basket. So in that sense, while market tags it as automobile, but I think it's also a consumer basket. So according to us, consumer consumption will do well, but you have to find companies which will benefit from that trend. And we've been positive on automobile as a segment. We felt that was a better play than playing through an air conditioner or any other, consumer durable as they talk about, because the matrices of the both industries are same. Both are, linked to the rising in the per capita income, linked to the interest rate sensitivity, and the industry structure is also pretty much same. But one it gets 60p, another gets 25p, and still at 25p it is considered expensive. So we don't believe that. Hence, I would put Maruti and automobile companies as part of a consumption basket than maybe a manufacturing basket.
No, got that. But you're not looking at the lower ticket item consumption. Apparel, footwear, QSR. You're not looking at that whole basket.
We do look at all of them. And like I said, it is at the end of it, just because QSR is a great segment does not mean that it's a good investable risk reward in your favor. We have never found in the last 4 or 5 years any meaningful where we could get our arms around in terms of getting good risk reward. Of course, there are a few names where we bet it and we benefited. but and we have increased also some of the consumer discretion. We are watching everything else, and for me, even in aviation is as good as consumer discretionary, right? It does not have to be necessarily the old conventional basket of because we must not forget that consumer patterns are shifting. How people, all of us are consuming are shifting. So we don't have to necessarily bucket consumption in the original conventional basket or the way it was kind of defined. To my mind, aviation is as good as consumer basket than anything else. So like this, one has to see that we have a decent exposure in our portfolio in consumer. But yes, it is more dependent on the idea than anything else.
Vikas, afternoon. Aditya Infotech, that's your top holding in the manufacturing Amrit Kaal fund, 7.1%. Now, it's a recent listing. The issue price was 675. You were anchor investors, and the stock is double now at 1450. Do you see more upside? Because valuations are also now, you've made a quick 100%, in a span of, 1 month. So at this juncture, I mean, how is Aditya Infotech looking to you?
I think I probably, I'm doing my portfolio review right now with you, but I will do it. So I think it's a quite, of course, we didn't expect this kind of run-up, but we must keep in mind that there's a big move happening from China to India, and this is a very, very critical segment from a security perspective, and hence the indigenization of happening very fast. These guys are market leaders. Of course, it has got stretched, valuations are stretched. At this point in time, I will not buy, but structurally it can continue to do well. But of course, at listing, it was far more favorable than what it is today. But sometimes you just ride out whenever, because right now there's a scarcity of stock in this. There are more buyers than sellers, and that defines it. So you ride out as long as you think it's fine. But some point I will consider what needs to be done on this.
IIFL was the broker, Aditya Infotech, and there was, I don't know, it's one of those very, very rare cases, right? Listing happens in a market which is primed for listings, and after listing it kind of goes up the way it did. But it has. Two other names, very quickly, Vikas, if you can run us through it, since you said you're doing a review with us, if you're so kind. One is Krizag, and the other is.
I think I accommodated I thought this was more market conversation than stocks.
Okay. We've done 6, 7, so okay, fine. Next time, the rest later. Just a quick word on the market, Vikas. Are we to expect, is this the move you're waiting for or not really? I'm talking about the last 8 days, 700-point move on the Nifty. Or do you think, this is just a bit of a tactical move and we've got to still wait?
I think we've not been negative in the market at all. Throughout the last 3-4 months of turbulence, we always believe there's a passing phase; it will go away. And I do believe that what RBI governor is doing and what government is doing in terms of boosting domestic economy is far more important than Trump is doing. And having said that, I feel that is also now seems to be getting in the right direction. So I think everything of Indian economy is in reasonably good shape, moving the right direction. We are not as negative as most of the markets are around the corporate earnings cycle. We think they are not bad; they are in reasonably good shape. And second half of this financial year, it is likely to pick up and do better. So hence, I don't see kind of very high probability of markets having deep cut, and hence we were fully invested. And I think that we are in a good shape. Directionally, I'm quite optimistic on the markets. I think markets will keep hitting new highs soon.
Okay. Vikas, thank you very much. You've been a sport, and thank you for joining us and running us and talking us through a bunch of your holdings and, of course, the view on the market as well. Vikas Khemani there with perspective. I think there was a flash with regards to the India-EU FTA talks which are on. I think the next round is in Brussels. That's what came through right now. I think F&O desk and what's happening there. Mangalam is standing by with the latest in terms of the action. Mangalam, over to you.
Well, there is consolidation on the frontline index after 8 days of a rally on the Nifty. So we're just seeing a bit of a tug-of-war between the two heavyweight sectors. One is the Nifty Bank, the other is the Nifty IT. After having seen a big move, the Nifty IT is seeing a bit of profit booking. In fact, it crossed important levels on Friday, now broke below those. So let's see where that goes. The Nifty Bank, however, after having crossed important levels on Friday, sustaining above that, though 55,000 seems a bit elusive on the Nifty Bank after having crossed that in the earlier part of today's trading session. the broader markets tell you that your portfolios are feeling a lot better. Mid-cap index, small-cap index, both of them outperforming with far more number of stocks advancing than the number of stocks which are declining. And that gap between the green and the red line, with the green being up much above the red line, has been sustained throughout the trading session, so that's a positive, telling you the market breadth is firmly in favor of advances. Realty stocks, they've been picking pace over the last few hours. So if you have, any of the real estate stocks that you look at in the F&O space in particular, Oberoi Realty, Lodha Developers, Godrej Properties, Phoenix Mills, all of them are fairly well bid. The put-call ratio, which had moved to 1.3, has now moderated to 1.04. So that's telling you that it's creating more space for the market to move higher. So that's today's consolidation is not necessarily negative, but a positive sign for the bulls. This, coupled along with the broader market, is doing a lot better. Definitely makes you feel a lot more positive if you're a bull. A lot of, option writers for tomorrow are actually bracing themselves at a bit of a range. The 25,100 straddle, which is a call and a put together, is fairly well traded in today's session. So 25,100 call has a premium of close to around 55-60 rupees. You have the 25,100 put as well, which is equally active, a premium of 40 rupees. So 100 rupees on offer on this straddle. The street is expecting, 25,000 to 25,200 as the broad range for the market. The key trigger on the upside would be crossing the 21st August high of 25,154. SBI Card, Tube Investments and Siemens are some of the stocks which have seen some fresh long positions being added over the last 30 minutes or so. And Angel One, all through the day, we've seen big open interest jump out there, and it's crossed the threshold of 25%. So obviously, one of those stocks that enters F&O band today would be Angel One. We'll watch out for that.
Thank you very much for that. Get into a break. On the other side, we'll get you a check on what dealing rooms are saying in our segment, D Street Chatter.
Welcome back. Continues to be a quiet start to the week, a quiet Monday. We've got Nimesh joining in with D Street Chatter. Nimesh, the bulls, I think, pausing for breath after a couple of good days.
Well, I wouldn't say that. It's more of focus shifting towards the broader market stocks. So, Srabhi, well, the Nifty is consolidating in a narrow range. It's a broader market which are relatively outperforming. The index is up 0.5%. But look at the individual stocks. A lot of reactions and a lot of stocks are buzzing 8, 10, 12% in today's market and a large volume. So, clearly looks like the focus is shifting towards the broader market indices after the recent underperformance. In the F&O basket, it's the PSUs which continue to outperform. So even in the PSU basket, it looks like there is a bit of sector rotation happening. Today is a day for the real PSUs to do well. We saw a big move in the defense names and oil PSUs recently, and now we are seeing a bit of move in the railway PSUs as well. So that one space is where we're seeing a bit of traction as well from larger institutions. Technically, 25,200 is the level to watch. If that gets taken out, you will see further short covering rally. The overall short positions of FIs has come down from the recent peaks, but still they have net short of almost 89-90%. So further short covering can happen. From a global perspective, watch out for the Fed meet outcome. That's going to be a big trigger, not only for global markets, for the Indian equities as well. So, and you're seeing a bit of uptake in the rate sensitive as well. So that's the space to watch. But broadly, I guess it's a pause from a Nifty point of view, but there is a lot of traction in the broader markets.
Yeah, Nimesh. individual stocks, all the focus. What's on your list?
Well, so the first stock on my list is Gujarat Fluorochem. That's been consolidating in a narrow range, but I understand that could be a large block in Gujarat Fluorochem very soon. So that's the first name. The second stock is BEL. I spoke about the PSUs in general doing good. BEL within the defense basket has relatively outperformed on the back of very strong buying. And I understand one large domestic mutual fund has been accumulating BEL off late. So that's the second name. Third name is Ember Enterprises. I've highlighted in the past as well. That stock has been buzzing off late. In fact, even today the stock is up 1.5–2%. Again, for Ember, the next figure to watch is the QIP, which my senses will come very soon. In a day or two, you will see the QIP launching. And I understand there is a very strong demand, both local as from larger FIs as well, in the Ember QIP. So that's the third name. And the last one is GMR Power. Big move on that stock as well, up 10%. Last week, we saw an announcement from the company wherein they are expected to get some refunds from the Haryana Discom. And that's been the big trigger for the stock to do well. In fact, some large HNIs have bought as well in the last couple of days. And of course, for GMR, the next trigger is that whether this order will mean further discoms, money getting from the other discoms as well. So that's the reason why GMR Power is buzzing in trade today.
Oh, big one, right? 11–12% on it, 130 at this point in time. And in terms of timelines, anything expected today, Nimesh?
Watch out for Gujarat Fluoro. Looks like that block is down the corner. And of course, even Amber looks like in a day or two, the QIP will get launched.
Okay, Gujarat and Amber first off, and the other two on the radar, BEL and GMR Power, which is, of course, there's HNI investors who are active with a big bump today. Mitesh is with us with what to buy or sell today for a reverse trade tomorrow. Mitesh, what do you have?
Yeah. So, Woodco, I think, is on my radar. That's the stock, which is kind of picked up today after a few days of consolidation. So take a VTSP with the stop at 220, look for a 226, 227 kind of a target. And the other one is IOC or Indian Oil. Had a good breakout on Thursday, pullback on Friday, and it's picking up pace again. So this could see some continuation. Take a VTSP with a stop at 142.5. Look for targets of 147.
Okay, Mitesh, thank you very much for that. Now, let's just talk about the India-US trade talks, right? Parikshit is picking up, and this is all, of course, source-based, that talks are on, and just expectations from both sides. Parikshit, take it away.
The US government wants to see a strong intent from India on reducing oil and defense purchases from Russia. And this is likely to be conveyed to Indian officials in the 6th round of talks set to happen very soon. Ending the Russia-Ukraine war is a priority for the Trump administration, and they are expecting support from India on that front. We have learnt exclusively from top sources that US officials are likely to seek assurances from India towards reducing purchases of Russian oil during trade negotiations. US officials want market access for American companies in the agricultural sector and are very keen on India using American-produced maize in ethanol production. This is likely to come up during future trade talks. US government may demand market access for niche agricultural and dairy products as part of the trade deal. We're told that the US is not seeking all-out and complete access to Indian agriculture and dairy, but access for certain key areas. For example, US may seek market access for niche milk and cheese products in the next round of talks. That's not all. US officials have also asked Indian officials to reduce licensing requirements, import curbs, non-tariff barriers for American companies. They want a level playing field for all American firms. All of this, we are told by sources, is important for the US side in any future trade negotiation with India. Now, we have to see whether India and US will work towards addressing the additional penalty of 25% and the reciprocal tariff of 25% in a phased-wise and staggered manner, or one comprehensive deal which will address all issues.
Thank you very much for that. The other important story that we've learned from sources is that insurance companies and IRDAI representatives met the CBIC to discuss the income tax credit, inversion benefits, amongst other things. Tim C is here with the details.
Well, CBIC actually held a meeting with IRDAI and insurance company representatives on Friday to discuss a smooth transition of GST rate cut and also the insurance companies' demand of ITC, that is input tax credit, and inversion benefits were discussed in the meeting. When we speak of the meeting, the insurance companies flagged that the denial of ITC, that is the input tax credit, and inversion will lead to additional costs, and they also demanded fast tracking of the existing refunds of input tax credit, saying that these should be cleared at the urgent basis. Meanwhile, when it comes to what happened when CBIC spoke to them, when CBIC actually answered these concerns, well, CBIC again clarified and reiterated that the input tax credit and inversion benefits on life and health insurance cannot be permitted as per the GST Council decision. CBIC, however, assured that there will be timely release of the input tax credits, which are currently in the pipeline and are stuck, and that's what the insurance company's second demand was. So overall, CBIC shared that there will be a clarification on the other demand of clear definition of individual policies, group policies, family floater, etc. But on the concerns of ITC and inversion, CBIC was very clear that they cannot be extended, but insurance companies flagged that these will be additional costs, so they might not be able to give a relief to the people in terms of lowered premium. However, CBIC said that they should focus on cuts in the premium costs rather than taking up this matter again and again. So let's see how long this turf continues and what is the final way out, because as of now, government having a strong say that no benefits of inversion and input tax credit, rather focus on reducing the premium cost for the people.
All right, Timsi, thank you very much for that. We'll take a break. We're back. More market chat on the other side.
Welcome back. Well, the last couple of minutes of trade left. We have Sudeep Bandyopadhyay of Indutrade Capital market expert joining in. Sudeep, good to have you in. It's an out-and-out mid-cap day today, right? And we've been highlighting quite a few of these stocks. A lot of the railway names like Railtel, Aircon, they're up and about. Even other PSUs, Hudco, for instance, having a good session as well. Any picks from the railway pack?
I have started liking Titagarh. I think, earlier I was kind of scared by the valuation. But I think there's a remarkable turnaround story from just a wagon manufacturer. They have completely transited into the passenger rail manufacturing. The kind of orders they have got on the metro, the kind of scale up which is happening on the metro wagons and metro coaches, I think quite amazing. So it's a complete rail system, and this metro orders have taken the company to a completely different level. Of course, the wagon business continues to throw out cash, and that helps the overall business. So I think this is one company which actually can move up significantly from here as well. And from a long-term investment point of view, I think it's a good bet. The other railway stocks, I did have a look and all that, but I think the valuation, again, I find it a little challenging. So I would say from a long-term perspective, let's look at Titagarh Rail Systems.
Okay, so Titagarh Rail would be one. The other is SBI Card, Sudeep. Not sure if this is just some build-up, some excitement ahead of festive seasons, therefore retail spends, or if there's anything more to it. But your thoughts?
Well, I think, the stock has been subdued for pretty long, and I think a lot of concerns regarding that, asset quality, and rightly so, because unsecured debt was kind of having a lot of challenges across the industry. And I think at some point of time, people probably, and the market is probably sensing that worst is over, and now we are heading into the festive season. So I think the card spends will increase. Obviously, the business volume will increase. So the asset quality also hopefully should improve, considering the fact that the quarter 3 and quarter 4 are expected to be good quarters, with monsoon being good, the farm, agricultural income and rural income going up. So I think, we are sensing a turnaround in SBI Cards business and the asset quality, and that's why the stock is getting excited.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Sudeep, thanks very much for that. Well, let's quickly wind down the day. It's been a day that really belonged to the broader, screen, because the Nifty was subdued, down about 43 points. Mid-cap index did much better, 0.5% higher. And the advance decline ratio was favoring the advances today. But on the Nifty, let's call out what has worked. On the upside, Jio Financial, Bajaj Finance, Reliance has been a support of sorts, just 0.25% up on RIL. Eternal managed to find some takers today, about 0.7% higher. And even L&T was showing some green. L&T and some of the bigger banks like ICICI. But on the